really came across to me when we first talked, and I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself in a moment, was this idea of simplifying the tech stack. I'm a huge fan of do more with less, and as few as possible, as many as necessary. And one of the things that I've really seen happening in the last only like year or so is that finally there are starting to be some all-in-one softwares emerging, which makes it a really interesting time. And don't know that that means that folks are ready to let go or should be ready to let go of their tech stack. So clickautomations.com is your website. Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. And we'll put that in the notes, and I'll have you do that again at the end. And so, I'll just let you introduce yourself.
Awesome. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. I'm Tamra Millikan, as Ian said, and I own Click Automations. It's an all-in-one platform for people in the coaching and consulting space who have a lot of tech in their platform now, several different softwares that they're using and trying to duct tape together. It's an all-in-one solution that not only saves you time, but saves you money, because you can combine your CRM, your digital course, your website, your sales funnels, your calendar, your text messaging, your quizzes, your social media scheduler, your blog, all in one place. So it's usually a way to save people a ton of time and a ton of money.
Yeah. Right. Again, isn't that, I love that when those two things go together. So
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how you found your way to this work. What was your path?
Oh gosh, let's see. I started out way back in the day as an electrical engineer and marketing person, and I worked for the two largest medical device companies in the world. I sold implantable medical devices that were based on electronics and engineering. So it was always my jam. Anything tech, I loved. I always jump on the bandwagon anytime something new comes out. And I found that in my coaching business, after I left corporate, I'd started my own business. I found that in my coaching business, I was always gravitating to this one module. And it was the tech and automation piece. It was where I love to spend the time. I love to spend the most time with my clients. And I finally decided last year that it was time to just focus on what I do and love best and let the rest go, because there's plenty of exceptional business coaches out there doing great work in that space. And I really wanted to focus on this area because I saw so many people spending a fortune on tech and weren't able to make it work. Then once they buy the software and have the monthly recurring fee, then they'd have to go hire a developer or find somebody who knew how to use the system on one of the contract platforms like Fiverr or Upwork, and hope that they could help you get done quickly what you needed to do. But those dollars start to add up really quickly. And then every time you need an update or have to change something or add something, you're hiring them again. And I said, there's got to be a better way. I don't want to do business this way. I want to make it easy for people. And I want to make it so that once they get on board with the system, that I'm there for them. I give them white glove onboarding to make sure everything is done for them, with them, if they want to learn it, and get it done quickly, and then have ongoing support for them at no cost so that they can learn how to use the system and be really comfortable making changes going forward. Because let's face it, everybody in the coaching or consulting space is always testing, tracking, tweaking their offer, making a few changes, adding some things, taking away some things. So there's always those times when you've got to make changes in your back-end systems. And I didn't want to see people spending a fortune on that. I have been blessed with an amazing sales and marketing training and a college degree from a big college that taught me how to do all this very easily. And so I love being able to pass on what I know and what I've been trained to do to people and help them succeed.
So awesome. I mean, yeah, for sure. That has been part of our journey at Moxie, is like, one person set up Active Campaign for us, but it was like a plate of spaghetti. And, so then we hired another guy and another person, and, and it was just like, now here we're at this place where we're like, ugh, it's obviously not really working for us. And we are in process of using another solution, but there's
Right.
still just a lot of legacy left in there that's taking time to move
Yeah.
over.
It
So
does take time.
yeah,
And then, what else is, once you start getting many softwares in place and you start growing, it starts to become a time suck. If you're not careful, you can find yourself spending way too much time on the back end part of your business rather than the front end things that grow your business and bring in
right.
revenue. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me about this particular software that you use. Is this something that you yourself developed or something that you came across?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I white label a system called Go High Level. A lot of people have heard of Go High Level.
Mhm.
They are the gold standard. The reason that I white label them, and a lot of the other big funnel companies out there, I won't mention names, also white label them, is
Yeah.
because they are the gold standard framework for everyone to build off of. And then everybody has their own way of offering it, adding services to it, and supporting their clients with it. And I kind of already covered what I do differently.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think that people need to have in place in order to be able to make effective use of an all-in-one software? Like, do they need to
Mhm.
have their processes designed, or is that something you do with them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It varies depending on where they're at in their business. Some people don't have any processes in place. They're still putting all their contacts in a Google spreadsheet, and they're not emailing on a regular basis or text messaging. They don't have a landing page for their lead magnet or a sales funnel. I work with a lot of clients like that to help them bring it all together and implement a lead generation system going forward. Then there's other people who have a lot of systems in place, a lot of platforms that are all over that they're trying to, like I said earlier, kind of duct tape together. And it's getting very costly. And they're finding that things don't work together in the way that they should. The Zapiers break and all those kinds of things go on, where all of a sudden the system isn't talking to that system and they're losing leads and potential clients are falling through the cracks. So that's another type of client that I often find myself working with, is helping them migrate all that together so that nothing falls through the cracks. And we put in automations so that a lot of things that they've been doing manually, those mundane tasks, are done automatically on the back end for them.
And why do you think more people aren't using all-in-one systems? Why are people still attracted to these,
Mm-hmm.
piecemeal
Yeah.
little things that they have to stick together?
Yeah, I know. I think what happens when people start a business, if I had to guess, is that they start out saying, oh, I don't need that all in one system. I just need an email list, or I just need some place to put my digital course that I'm going to start. I don't have an email system yet. I don't email on a regular basis. And then what they find is they start on a platform or two or three, and before they know it, they've grown. And in order to keep growing, they need to start doing a real lead generation program on a regular basis. And that's when they realize all these different systems are not the way to do a proper lead generation system. That's why I think it happens. I think people just start out thinking they don't need everything. They just need one thing. And then it grows from there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that my experience of that, of looking at platforms, wasn't that I was dismissing what I needed so much as I was just purely ignorant, right? So I actually did a cohort with Teachable a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic. And it was this really interesting idea that they had. It was a group of us in New York City that we would go to their office and they kind of led us through this, several month long, we'd meet once, or I think once a month ish, and talk about all these different areas of course creation. And this is often what my experience as a consumer is, which is, okay, great, you're teaching me about course creation, which means you're teaching me everything I need to know, as opposed to being clear. And they may have clearly said it, but I definitely didn't clearly get it. Like, this is just one spoke in the wheel, right?
Right.
And that it's, if you have a course but don't know how to market it, don't have a lead magnet, don't have
Mm-hmm.
any kind of way to manage the conversations that need to happen with potential clients in a way that doesn't just keep you on the phone all the time,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you have a course kind of doesn't matter. It's sort of lost in the mist,
It
right?
is. It is. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that information is available? Like, did I just not did I just not hear it? Or do you think that that is something that is still a little plaguing in the general knowledge of people who are looking to take their business or at least their lead development more wide online?
I think you've hit the nail on the head, actually. And the reason I totally agree with you is that you've got everybody in these micro niche businesses, right? So I'm micro niched in automation and an all-in-one platform, but there's people who micro niche in helping you grow your list, people who just niche in helping you develop that digital course. And so they're really just focused on talking about their niche and their area of expertise and what they want to do. And I think that for people starting out or in the earlier days of their business, they don't realize you really need to take a step back before you make those decisions on what platform to go with, because they can really tie you down. It can become a ball and chain. If you start developing all your courses on a system that gets really expensive really quickly, the more courses you put on it, then to go migrate that over to somewhere else can take a lot of time. And so I think it's really important for people to really carefully consider when they decide they want to, like, say, we're talking about digital courses, do a digital course, look at all your options, look at what different platforms you could use, because you're going to grow. Your business is going to get bigger, and you're going to want to put not just one course, but multiple courses on. And you might then start to want to promote it with a lead magnet or send emails out to people on a list. And if those aren't all part of that system, then you're going to find yourself in a situation that we've talked about. But I think that's why, because people are just micro niching and only talking about their zone of genius and where they want to, the lane they want to be in.
Yeah. And so let me just put in a giant plug for someone like you that has this bigger picture, more holistic view that comes with sort of an all-in-one platform of like, here are all of the pieces of the puzzle to consider. You don't have to turn them all right now, but this is the ecosystem. Because I feel like I have, something similar in the bookkeeping world where, we will often tell clients like this is just the starting. If you're just using us for bookkeeping, you're just scratching the surface. Like, let us help you understand the numbers and help you understand what to do with them. But because bookkeeping is sort of on their mind first, or because they've heard from someone else, like, go check out your bookkeeping options and make the decision about what software to use. Mm-hmm. And, I always come across like, I would so much rather have someone call me up and ask me those questions of like, what is the difference between Xero and FreshBooks and QuickBooks and Wave, so that I can say, well, tell me more about you, so that I can point you in the right direction. Because if you're a solopreneur that does not plan on scaling, you have a very direct service business like a craftsperson, I'm going to steer you to something free like Wave. Mm-hmm. Because you don't need to scale. But if you want to scale, I would steer you more towards something like Xero, because it's so easy to plug in the pieces that you need. And so Absolutely. That's a very long-winded way for me to say, anyone that's listening, I strongly encourage to not try to do too much research on your own, and just go right to the expert and ask them those sorts of questions. Like, how do you help me decide what do I need?
Yep. I think that's so true. The other thing I think that people often overlook is that it can look affordable, the system they're considering at first, the entry level membership. But if you grow to where you really want to grow your business, you're going to be in the second or third tier pricing, because most other softwares that are specific to either like an email or a funnel or a digital course, those kinds of things, it's going to be based on how many subscribers you have, or how many digital courses you have, or how many funnels you have. It gets expensive really quickly, even though they do lure you in with that lower price. So look at the goals you have for yourself and your company. And where do you want to be a year, 3, 5 years from now, even? And make sure that it's not going to become such a huge part of your expense line to stay with that system.
Or those,
because the all-in-one platforms and the all-in-one platforms like I offer, doesn't matter how many subscribers you have, how many emails you send, how many digital courses you have, how many websites you create or funnels you want. It's the same price. So I think it's really important for people to also consider that and know that those options are out there that will grow with you without gouging your bottom line.
Absolutely, right? Because what you don't spend, you get to keep.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what the biggest mistake you see people making when they have come to you that you wish that they had only known about earlier.
Yeah, I think the biggest frustration people have when they come to me is that they have a huge built out course, let's say, on another platform, and moving that over takes a lot more time than they wanted. To either, I offer tech VA services. I have offshore tech VAs that are already trained on the system. So if people want to migrate those over, I can do it very affordably with offshore tech virtual assistant type pricing models, but it still takes time and it is still going to cost money. So I think that's where the one thing that people really regret is not deciding to consolidate sooner when they've got all these different systems. And then the other thing that I find is so many people aren't utilizing their list. They have a list, but they don't email on a regular basis. The third thing I see people doing a lot is not having a landing page for their lead magnet and then a nurture series that follows that. Those are the places where people seem to be the most frustrated, hands up in the air. And they're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I need to really spend time on this. And I don't have time to do it anyway, kind of thing.
Do your VAs help with the writing of those nurture campaigns?
No, they do not. They are strictly executing on what is asked of them, knowing the system, knowing how to set all the automations up, put the system in place, brand the emails, make everything look beautiful and branded, and go out at the right time in the right order, that kind of a thing. And then, of course, moving over digital courses from other platforms is one of those things that they can do as well. And that content's already there.
Awesome. Do you have folks that you work with for the services that you don't cover, like copywriting, et cetera? Do you have like a preferred list?
I have some people that I do use for that, but I'm always looking to add to my resource list because
Me too.
I think that copywriting and messaging is just so important. Branding is so important. And even if you've looked at it a while ago, I always encourage people to look at it again from a new lens now that you've grown and maybe your offers change slightly. So just making sure that everything is on point. I love having them make sure that's all ready to go and tuned up as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us. If you could leave folks with one piece of advice or one to do to take a step towards simplifying and streamlining, what would you ask them to do?
Well, I would ask them to go and download my free lead magnet. It is called the Lead Generation Roadmap. And you can go to get that at clickautomations.com/roadmap. That's clickautomations.com/roadmap. And that will give you a very detailed plan of how to start an email sequence, what to put in it, how to write compelling subject lines that convert, that get opened, and what to consider when you're creating that lead magnet. What are the right kinds of lead magnets for your ideal client? And that is one of the big questions that I get to is what should I create for my lead magnet and how should I position it? It's all in the Lead Generation Roadmap. That's awesome. a free resource for people.
Super important to have that. Well, again, thank you so much, Tamra, for joining us. I look forward to having you back at some future point, and we'll be talking about our automation stuff offline as well.
Sounds great.
Thanks for joining. All right.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Awesome.
Let's see
Thank
if
you.
actually stop streaming.